Hi there, third grade friends. My name is Mrs. Hoffman, and I am so excited to be here with you today to do some really great math. For today's lesson, you're going to need just a few things. You're going to need your student guided practice page that looks like this. You're going to need a regular pencil. You probably want to make sure it has an eraser just in case, because we always make mistakes in math, and that's okay. It's Hi there, third grade friends. My name is Mrs. Hoffman, and I am so excited to be here with you today to do some really great math. For today's lesson, you're going to need just a few things. You're going to need your student guided practice page that looks like this. You're going to need a regular pencil. You probably want to make sure it has an eraser just in case, because we always make mistakes in math, and that's okay. It's how we learn. You also need a red colored pencil and a blue colored pencil. If you don't have colored pencils, that's okay. Crayons or markers will work as well. And if you don't have those either, we can use a regular pencil. We're just going to use it for visuals today. While you're gathering those few things, we're going to get ready to do some refueling. So our refueling break today, we're going to do our 6 sides of breathing. And to do this, all you have to do is relax, put your shoulders back and down, and we're going to take some nice big deep breaths. And as I run my hand across here, after we take that deep breath in, we're going to hold it for just a second or two, and then we're going to let it out. And we're going to go around our 6-sided chart 3 times. So sit up. Nice and tall, shoulders back and down, and here we go. We're going to take a nice big deep breath in. And hold that breath and let it out. We're going to take another deep breath and hold and let it out. Great job. We're going to do that again. Nice big deep breath in and hold it and let it out. Another nice big deep breath in. We're going to hold and let it out. Last time around. Great job. Here we go. Big deep breath in. Hold and let it out. Last one. Make it your best. Big deep breath in. Hold that breath. And let it out. Great job. Now our brains are ready to go and ready to learn today. Our goal today at the end of this lesson is to be able to add numbers up to 1,000 using base 10 blocks. So before we get started too much, let's go back and remind ourselves what base 10 blocks are. Take a look at this picture right here. You've probably seen manipulatives like this in your classroom. Those are our base 10 blocks. So you might be used to seeing something that looks, let's make this a little bigger, something that looks like this big cube here. That is worth 1,000. So we're going to leave that out today. We don't need that big of a number. But take a look at these big flat squares right there. We're going to call those flats. And each of those represents 100. We also have these long rods here. Those are worth 10. So there are 10 rods in one of those large flats. And then, of course, we've got just our tiny little cubes here. Those are our units, and those represent 1. Now, I don't know about you, but it would take me forever to try to draw 100 tiny little squares together in order to make that flat. So when we draw our base 10 blocks today, we're going to do it much simpler. So here's what we're going to do. When we want to represent 100, we're actually just going to draw a big square, and that's going to represent 100. I don't think I have time to make 100 little blocks in there. It would take forever. So that square represents 100, and we're going to call that a flat. Down here we've got our rods, and they look just like a big, long, tall rectangle. So that's going to represent our 10 today. So here's our flat, which is how much? Right, 100. And then we've got our long, or our rod, and how much does that represent? Good, 10. And then to make our unit, or our single little guy here, we're just going to draw a little square. Can you see the difference between my 1 and my 100? Yeah, this one is much larger, isn't it? So this represents just 1. So that's how we're going to represent our base 10 blocks when we draw today. So remember, our flat is worth 100. Our rod is worth 10. and then our unit cube is worth 1. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to watch a quick video here. Well, maybe, there we go.
How do you find the total jelly beans you have if you start with 123 and someone gives you 235 more? In this lesson, you will learn to add together two 3-digit numbers by using base 10 blocks. Remember that a 3-digit number is made up of hundreds, tens, and ones. And each digit's value depends on its place in the number. So the 2 is in the hundreds place, that stands for 200. The 5 is in the tens place, which stands for 50. The 3 is in the ones place, which stands for 3. And now let's look at the base 10 blocks we'll be using. Remember that 1 cube counts as 1, 110 long counts as 10, and 100 flat counts as 100. What is 341 plus 156? When I add really large numbers like these 3-digit numbers, I like to line my numbers up in a hundreds, tens, and ones chart. This way, when I draw out my base 10 blocks, I will know exactly how many of each type of block I will need to draw. So I have 341 plus 156. Each digit is in its proper place. So now here's a little bit bigger hundreds, tens, and ones chart so that I can draw in all of those base 10 blocks. So here's 341. I have 3 hundreds, 4 tens, and 1 1. I'm adding 156, so that's 100, 5 tens, and 6 ones. Now that I have both of my addends set up in base 10 blocks, all I have to do is count up each column to find out the total. So I have 4 hundreds, 9 tens, and 7 ones. So 341 plus 156 equals 497. So if you remember at the beginning of the lesson, I wanted to find out the total number of jelly beans I would have if I started with 123 and added 235 more. So let's use base 10 blocks to help us find the answer. In addition, it doesn't matter which number I start with when I add. I can add the numbers in any order and still get the same number. Here I'm going to leave the numbers in order. So I'll put in my hundreds, tens, and ones chart 123, so 100, 2 tens, and 3 ones, and I'll add 235, 2 hundreds, 3 tens, and 5 ones. All I have to do now is count up each column. So I have 3 hundreds, 5 tens, and 8 ones. So 123 plus 235 equals 358 jelly beans. In this lesson, you have learned how to add together two 3-digit numbers by using base 10 blocks.
All right. So we're going to do just a couple of things a little bit differently than our video did, but we're going to follow the same pattern. So you're going to want to grab your student guided practice page, find your 2 colored pencils or crayons, because we're going to do some drawing here. I bet you didn't know you were going to do art in math today. All right, so we're going to take a look at these first 2 numbers. We're going to add 114 plus 353. Now, to do that, we have to first represent each of those numbers using the base 10 blocks. Did you notice how my number here is red, my 114? I'm going to use a red pen, crayon, colored pencil, and I'm going to use that to represent my numbers using base 10 blocks. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change my color to red, and I'm going to represent 114. So think about the number 114. How many hundreds are there in the number 114? Yeah, there's 1. Do you remember how to draw 100 using a base 10 block? Remember, we're going to draw that flat. So with your red pencil, we're going to draw 100 there. Okay? All right, let's think about the tens. So in the number 114, how many tens are there in 114? Yep, just 1. So we're going to draw 1 long. Do you remember how to draw a long? It's just that tall, skinny rectangle. So now I've represented the 100, I've represented the 10, and now I need to do the ones. How many ones are in 114? Yeah, 4. So we're just going to draw 4 little squares here. So take a second and do that for me. Remember, if you don't have a red or a blue pencil, a crayon colored pencil, you can always just use a regular pencil. It will work just the same. While we're doing that, I'm going to switch over to my blue now because I need to represent the number 353. So I'm going to break it apart just like I did with that first number. So looking at the number 353, how many hundreds do we need to draw? Exactly, we need 3. So down here underneath, we're going to draw those 300s. Remember, we're just drawing squares and they don't have to be perfect. Okay, look at the number 353. How many 10s do we need to draw? Perfect, we need to draw 5 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Look at the number 353 again. How many ones should we draw? How many unit cubes? Great, 3. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my regular pencil again. You're going to do the same for me. And what we're going to do is now we're going to add these together. Now on our video, they started by adding in this hundreds column. But I want us to start all the way over here on the ones because when we take these base 10 blocks away in the future, we want to make sure we always start with the smallest place value. So all we have to do now is count how many ones there are all together. So how many red ones did we make? And how many blue ones, and how many are all together? Do you see 7? I do too. So I'm actually going to put that 7 right down here. All right, looking at our 10s. How many 10s do you see in all? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I see 6 10s, but when I'm thinking about place value, when I'm thinking about numbers, 6 10s is the same as the number 60, isn't it? So I'm actually going to put the number 60 here. So now I have, right now, 60 in 10s and 7 ones. So let's come over here to the hundreds. How many hundreds do we have all together? Yep, 4. And if I have 4 hundreds, how much is that? Great, it's 400. So now this should look a little bit familiar because now it looks like I have expanded form here. If I add all these together, 400 plus 60 plus 7, then I'm going to get the number 467. And that's how we're going to add today. So we're representing each of our numbers with base 10 blocks, and then we're adding them all together, adding each value together. Are you ready to try another one? Let's do that. All right, this time we have 295 plus 302. Ooh. That number scares me a little bit because it's got a 0 in it, and sometimes those zeros can make things a little tricky. So we're going to hold on to that for just a minute. Just put that 0 in the back of our brain, and we're going to come up here to that 295. And I'm going to grab my red pencil again, and I'm going to think about 295. How many hundreds should we draw to represent 295? Perfect. We're going to draw 2. So with your red pen or your regular pencil, let's do that. Remember, we're just drawing 2 giant squares here. That represents 200. Okay, let's look at the next one. We've got to do 10s. How many 10s are in 295? Great. Yeah, 9. Ooh, that's a lot. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm going to have to come down here, 8, 9. Oh, I'm going to double count those, make sure I got it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I got it. Okay, going back to that whole number, 295. How many ones should I draw? How many little unit cubes? Yeah, perfect. 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we've represented the number 295 using base 10 blocks. So now let's look at that 302. Remember that scary 0? I'm going to show you how unscary it really can be. Let's look at the number 302. How many hundreds are there? Yeah, that's an easy one. There are 300. So 1, ooh, that was not a very good square. 2, 3. Okay, here's that tricky 0. how many tens do I need to draw to represent 302? None. 0, right? See how easy that was? That wasn't scary at all. All right, how about those units? How many ones should we draw to represent 302? Yeah, you've got this. Perfect. 1, 2. Okay, so now we're going to add them all together, but remember, we're going to think about the value of each of those. Okay, looking at the ones, how many ones do I have all together? I started with 5 red ones, and I have 2 more blue ones. So it looks to me like 7. I think that's what we had last time. All right, look at our tens. Let's count these by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay. How many hundreds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we count by hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So I'm going to put that here. Now I've got that expanded form again. So if we put all those together, 500 plus 90 plus 7, we get 597. Great work, guys. Let's try one more together. And then I'm going to have you try one on your own. Okay, 471 plus 426. Those are some pretty big numbers. Do you think you can do this? I think you can too. All right, we're going to grab that red color first. We're going to represent 471. All right, thinking carefully. 471. What's the first step here, guys? What do I need to do with that number? Yeah, I need to figure out how many hundreds there are. Okay, well, how many are there? Great, there's 4. So let's draw 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm looking more like I have rectangles than squares here, you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, I've done my hundreds. Now what? Yeah, I have to do my tens. How many tens are in 471? Good, 7. Oh, okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now what? Good, I need to do units. How many ones are in 471? How many ones do I need to draw? Perfect, just 1. Have you noticed how in the number 471, there's a 4 in the hundreds place, and we drew 4 squares, 4 flats? There was a 7 in the tens place, and we drew 7 longs. And there was a 1 in the ones place, and we drew 1, 1. Have you noticed that? Great, let's do the next one. So let's change our pen color here. Now we're going to do 426. I'm going to give you a moment. I want you to try this one, and then I'm going to show you. Let's see if you can do it on your own. Take just a moment. Okay, are you ready? How many flats did you draw to represent 426? Did you do 4? I hope so. If you didn't, let's fix that. I'm going to draw 4 flats because in my hundreds place, there's a 4, which represents 400. How many tens did you draw to represent 426 in that tens place? How many tens did you draw? Did you do 2? I think you should have because I see a 2 in the tens place, which means I need to draw 2 longs here. Okay, last one. How many ones did you draw? I hope that you did 6 because I see a 6 in my ones place. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so check your work. Does yours match mine? Did we get it together? I hope so. Now the next step is to then add those columns together. So we're going to start here always in the ones place. And remember, we're going to write the value underneath, not just the number of drawings we made, but the actual value of the drawings. So if each of these is 1, let's count how many we have all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Man, I like those 7s in that ones place for some reason. I think that's our third one. All right, looking at the tens, let's count how many tens. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 tens. If I counted that by tens, what would our value be? Let's find out. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Yeah, 90, great, okay. How about our hundreds? Take a look at that. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hundreds. So if I count by hundreds, what will my value be? 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So now, if I take those three numbers and I add them together, I squish them back together, 800 plus 90 plus 7 will give me 897. How did you do? Great. Okay, so now you're going to try one all on your own. I'm going to give you just a few minutes to try it, but I want you to do your best. Remember, the first step is to look at my first number. I'm going to break it apart, draw my place value blocks to represent my numbers. Once I've done that, I do the same with my second number. Add your columns to get your final answer. All right, here we go. Let's see what you can do with 632 plus 157. Let's see how you do. And see how you did. Okay, so looking at that first number, I see the number 632. Did you draw 6 hundreds? Did you draw 3 longs? And did you draw 2 ones? If you did, you need to give yourself a big giant pat on the back because that's fantastic. All right, let's look at our second one. Okay, to represent 157, did you draw 100? Did you draw 5 longs? And did you draw 7 ones? If you did, give yourself another giant pat on the back. All right, last step, guys. Let's see if you've really got it. Okay, adding all this together. So I had 2 plus 7 should give me 9. We had 5 plus 3, which is going to give us 8. But remember, those are tens, so really that's 80. And then we had 600 plus 100, which gives me 700. When we add all of those together, did you get a final answer of 789? If you did, fantastic. I'm really proud of you. Let me show you a really cool way to get numbers later. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of old board games around my house. And one of the things that I like to do is roll the dice. So to make some new numbers for yourself to practice this, you're going to grab a dice. I actually have a dice rolling tool right here. Ooh, somewhere in here. Well, I don't see it in there today, but there's a dice, and you can take that dice and you roll it. And let's say I rolled the first time and I get a 3. So I can pick anywhere in here. I'm going to put a 3 right here. And I'm going to roll it again. And this time I got a 6. Well, I want to make a really big number, so I'm going to put a 6 right here. And I'm going to roll it again, and I get a 2. So you're just going to keep rolling that dice until you make your own numbers. Now, here's the challenge. I want you to take these numbers. I want you to split them up, and I want you to draw them using those place value blocks like we did and add them together. But the hardest challenge of all is then explaining how you did that with your family. So you can explain it to your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your choice. But that's the hard part, is explaining it to someone else. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want you to remember the code word today. Today's code word is summer. And I thank you so much for joining me, and I'm so excited that you were here. Great math work today, guys. Bye.